What if I told you that the most electric moment in recent WWE history didn't happen during a pay-per-view? What if I told you it happened on a Monday night, under the bright lights of Raw, when a man who has been described as a generational talent walked straight into the kingdom of the most dominant champion in WWE today, and he didn't walk in quietly. He walked in like he owned the place. That man is Oba Femi. And the man he walked up to? Gunther. The ring general. The man who has turned the World Heavyweight Championship into his personal throne. Tonight, we are breaking down every single detail of that confrontation, the build-up, the moment itself, the body language, the words exchanged, and what it all means for the future of WWE. Buckle up, because this is one of those stories you are going to want to tell people about. Welcome to Wrestling Impact. Let's get into it. To truly understand why this confrontation hit differently, you have to go back and understand who these two men are, because this was not just two wrestlers having a stare down. This was a collision of two philosophies, two eras, and two completely different kinds of danger meeting face to face in the middle of that ring. Let's start with Gunther. If you have been watching WWE for the past couple of years, you already know that Gunther is not just a champion, he is a statement. Every single time that man walks through the curtain, the temperature in the arena changes. There is a coldness to him, a controlled fury that makes you feel like you are watching something ancient, something that belongs in a different era of combat. Gunther doesn't just wrestle opponents. He dismantles them. He breaks them down piece by piece with that clinical European style, those vicious chops that sound like gunshots echoing through the arena, and that iron grip submission game that has made grown men tap out and then sit in the corner wondering what just happened to their lives. As the World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther has carried himself with an arrogance that isn't just confidence, it's a deep, philosophical belief that he is simply better than everyone else. And the frustrating thing? He keeps proving it. Night after night, week after week, Gunther shows up and makes his opponents look like they were never ready for this level of competition. Now enter Oba Femi. And when I say enter, I mean this man has been building toward a moment like this since the second he stepped foot into NXT. Oba Femi is a specimen unlike anything WWE has produced in a very long time. Standing tall with a frame that looks like it was sculpted for professional wrestling, Oba Femi combines raw athletic ability with a ruthless aggression that is impossible to teach. He's the kind of talent that makes scouts rub their eyes and look twice, because physically he shouldn't exist, and yet there he is, moving with speed and power that defies logic. But what has made Oba Femi truly special, what has separated him from other impressive physical specimens who came before him, is the fact that he has the mind to match. He is not just imposing. He is calculating. He watches. He learns. And when he decides it is time to make his move, he moves like a man who has already decided how the story ends. And on this particular Monday night on Raw, Oba Femi decided it was time to make his move in the biggest possible way. The night started like any other Raw. The pyro hit, the crowd was buzzing, the energy was already electric, but there was something in the air that felt different. Those of us who follow this product closely could feel it. Something was coming. Something big. And then Gunther's music hit. Now listen, when Gunther walks out onto that stage, there is a specific kind of silence that falls over a crowd. Not the silence of boredom, the silence of respect mixed with fear. People stop talking. They stop messing with their phones. They turn to that stage and they watch, because missing a single second of Gunther feels like a mistake you might regret. He walked down that ramp with the World Heavyweight Championship draped over his shoulder like a piece of armor, his eyes cold and focused, the ring general surveying his kingdom. He got into that ring, grabbed the microphone, and did what Gunther does best. He spoke with absolute conviction about his dominance, about how no one on the Raw roster was worthy of being in the ring with him, about how the title would stay around his waist until he decided otherwise. Classic Gunther. Brilliant, insufferable, and completely believable. And then the music hit. Oba Femi's music. And the crowd, who had been sitting in respectful silence for Gunther, absolutely erupted. Now here is where the storytelling gets cinematic, because what happened in the next few minutes was not just a confrontation. It was a masterclass in character work and nonverbal communication. Oba Femi did not rush. He stepped through that curtain and he stood at the top of the ramp, and he looked at Gunther the way a man looks at a mountain he has already decided to climb. There was no nervousness. There was no hesitation. There was just absolute, unshakable intent in his eyes. And Gunther, to his credit, did not flinch. He stood in that ring with the championship still on his shoulder, and he watched Oba Femi make that walk, and there was a flicker, just a flicker of something behind those cold eyes that we haven't seen from Gunther in a long time. Not fear. Never fear with Gunther. But recognition. The recognition that this is different. This man is different. Oba Femi stepped through the ropes and let me paint this picture for you. The two of them standing in that ring together was one of those visually stunning moments that makes you remember why you fell in love with professional wrestling. Two absolute forces of nature. Two men built for this business. Standing maybe 3 feet apart, neither one blinking, neither one backing down, the crowd completely unhinged with noise. Oba Femi looked at Gunther and then he looked at the championship on his shoulder. And then he looked back at Gunther. And then he smiled. Not a friendly smile. Not a respectful smile. The smile of a man who has made up his mind. And then he spoke. He told Gunther directly, calmly, with every single word landing like a punch, that he had come to Raw with one purpose. Not to make friends. Not to introduce himself. He told Gunther that he came to Raw because that championship belongs to him. He said it with such quiet certainty that the crowd fell into that rare, electric silence where you could feel thousands of people all leaning forward at the exact same moment. He told Gunther that everything Gunther had built, everything Gunther had defended, everything Gunther had used to define himself, he was going to take it. And he wasn't asking. He was informing. Now, Gunther's response was exactly what you would expect from one of the greatest mic workers in the business today. He let the silence hang for a moment. He looked at Oba Femi the way a professor looks at a student who has said something audacious in class, not dismissively, but with a sharp, assessing intensity. And then he spoke. He told Oba Femi that he respected ambition. He said ambition is the language that champions understand. But then he leaned in, and this is where Gunther is so brilliant. He leaned in and he told Oba Femi that ambition without proof is nothing more than noise. He told him that this ring, this championship, this title reign, it had been built on the broken ambitions of men who were far more accomplished than Oba Femi. Men with more experience, more history, more accolades. And every single one of them had stood exactly where Oba Femi was standing right now, with that same look in their eyes, and every single one of them had failed. The crowd was split, half of them booing Gunther, half of them completely captivated by the logic of what he was saying, because the frustrating thing about Gunther as a villain is that he is not wrong. He has beaten everyone. He has proven himself over and over again. And he knows it. But then Oba Femi did something that nobody expected. He laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not a disrespectful laugh. A genuine, deeply confident laugh. And he told Gunther, and I want you to really hear this, he told him, every man you just mentioned had a limit. I don't. The arena lost its mind. And then Oba Femi slowly reached out, and with one hand, he tapped the faceplate of the World Heavyweight Championship still resting on Gunther's shoulder. Just one tap. One deliberate, symbolic tap that communicated everything without a single additional word. I am coming for this. It is inevitable. And there is nothing you can do about it. The tension in that ring was suffocating in the best possible way. Security and officials started making their way to ringside because everyone in that building, every single person at home watching, knew that this was a situation that could explode at any second. Gunther looked down at where Oba Femi's hand had touched his championship, and his jaw tightened. And for just a moment, you saw something shift in the ring general, because Gunther has been challenged many times. He has been threatened many times. But there was something about the calm, absolute certainty of Oba Femi's demeanor that was hitting differently. This wasn't bravado. This wasn't desperation. This was a man who genuinely, completely believes that he is about to become the most dominant force in WWE. The two men held eye contact for what felt like an eternity, and then Gunther slowly moved the championship off his shoulder and held it up between the two of them, his eyes never leaving Oba Femi's. It was his answer. His wordless, powerful answer. You want this? Come take it. Prove it. Because until you do, it stays right here. And then, just as it seemed like the confrontation was going to go nuclear, Oba Femi smiled one more time, straightened up, and stepped back. He looked at Gunther. He looked at the title. And then he turned and walked through the ropes, back down the ramp, never once looking over his shoulder. Because men who know where they are going don't look back. Now let's talk about what this all means, because the aftermath of this confrontation has the WWE Universe completely buzzing, and rightfully so. First, the storyline possibilities here are staggering. Oba Femi coming to Raw and immediately targeting Gunther tells us several things. It tells us that WWE sees something truly special in this young man, and they are ready to put him in the deepest end of the pool to see what he can do. This is not a slow build. This is not a background storyline. This is a declaration that Oba Femi is being positioned as a main event player right now, today, on the biggest stage the company has. That is a massive statement of confidence from WWE Creative, and frankly, watching that confrontation, it feels completely earned. Second, the match that this is building toward could be an absolute showstopper. Think about what Gunther brings stylistically: the technical brutality, the physicality, the experience, the ability to make you believe that every near fall is real and every submission attempt could end a career. And then think about what Oba Femi brings: the explosive athleticism, the power, the hunger, the unpredictability of a man who has not yet shown us his ceiling. Stylistically, this is a dream match waiting to happen. The contrasts are perfect. The stakes are sky high. And both men are capable of delivering something truly memorable when the time comes. Third, and this is the thing that excites me the most, Oba Femi did not come onto Raw and act like a man who was happy just to be there. He came in with an agenda. He came in with a plan. And in professional wrestling, the most compelling characters are always the ones who move with purpose. We have watched Gunther for years now, and we know he is as good as it gets. But there is something about the arrival of Oba Femi that feels like a genuine threat in a way that some of Gunther's previous challengers simply did not. Maybe it's the physicality. Maybe it's the confidence. Maybe it's just the fact that we are watching someone at the beginning of what could be a legendary career, and there is nothing more exciting in this business than being there at the beginning. The backstage reaction to this segment has reportedly been very positive, and look, we are not in the business of unverified rumors on this channel, but what we can say is that the fan response online in the hours following Raw was off the charts. Social media was flooded. Clips of that confrontation were shared tens of thousands of times. And the conversations being had in wrestling communities everywhere are centered on one question: when these two finally get in the ring together and the bell rings, who walks out with that championship? That is the question that great wrestling storytelling creates. That is what you get when you take two compelling characters with distinct identities and you let them collide in a way that feels real and consequential. Wrestling at its absolute best makes you believe that the outcome matters, that the championship means something, that the man holding it earned it and the man chasing it deserves the shot. And right now, in this story between Gunther and Oba Femi, all of that is true. There is one more thing I want to highlight before we wrap up, and it's something that I think gets overlooked in these kinds of analyses: the crowd. Because the crowd at Raw during this confrontation told the entire story. You had longtime Gunther fans, and there are many of them, because even as a villain, Gunther commands genuine respect and admiration, and you had this rising wave of Oba Femi energy that has been building for months, finding its outlet in that arena on that night. The fact that Oba Femi walked out and got that kind of reaction on Raw, the main roster, the biggest stage, without any major storyline set up beforehand, purely on the strength of who he is and what people have seen from him, tells you everything you need to know about his star power. You cannot manufacture that reaction. You cannot book it. It has to be real. And what we heard in that arena was completely real. So here is where we land. Gunther stands atop Raw as its most dominant champion. Oba Femi has officially announced his intentions to take everything Gunther has built and claim it for himself. The table has been set. The stage is being prepared. And somewhere down the road, when these two men finally stand across from each other with the World Heavyweight Championship on the line and that referee raises his hand to call for the bell, it is going to be one of those moments in WWE that people talk about for a very long time. We are watching history being written in real time, and the beautiful thing about wrestling is that we get to watch it happen together. If you made it this far, you already know what to do. Hit that like button because it genuinely helps this channel more than you know. Drop a comment below and tell me who you think wins when Oba Femi and Gunther finally collide in that ring. And if you are not subscribed to Wrestling Impact yet, what are you doing? Join the family. Every single week we break down the stories, the moments, and the matches that matter most, and we do it with the passion that this business deserves. Stay locked in. Stay passionate. This is Wrestling Impact, and we will see you in the next one.